In the spring of 1982, a short, sharp conflict erupted in the South Atlantic over a remote group of islands. The Falklands War, or the Guerra de las Malvinas as it's known in Argentina, pitted Argentina against the United Kingdom. While Britain's international support, particularly from the United States and France, is well documented, the story of who supported Argentina is often less told. So, which nations stood by Argentina during this 74-day war? Let's dive in. Immediately after the Argentine invasion of the islands on April 2nd, the international reaction was swift. The United Nations Security Council passed Resolution 502, demanding an immediate withdrawal of Argentine forces. This resolution placed Argentina in a difficult diplomatic position. However, support wasn't entirely absent. It just came in different forms: diplomatic, moral, and in some cases material. The most significant and steadfast support came from Latin America. This was rooted in a shared history of anti-colonial sentiment and regional solidarity. The principle of sovereignty over the Malvinas had long been a point of unity across the continent. Leading the charge was Peru. Peru became Argentina's most crucial ally, offering concrete military assistance. The Peruvian government, led by President Fernando Belaúnde, didn't just offer words, they took action. They secretly sent a squadron of their own Mirage fighter jets to Argentina. These 10 aircraft were a significant boost to the Argentine Air Force, which was facing a technologically superior opponent in Britain's Royal Navy and Royal Air Force. Peru also reportedly supplied other military hardware, including missiles and spare parts. This was a risky move, as it could have drawn Peru into a wider conflict. But their commitment to Argentina was unwavering. Beyond military aid, Peru was a vocal diplomatic advocate, trying to mediate a peaceful solution that would favor Argentina's claim. Venezuela was another key supporter. Driven by a similar anti-colonial stance, Venezuela provided both diplomatic backing and material aid. They were one of the most vocal critics of the British military response. Behind the scenes, Venezuela supplied Argentina with fuel for its aircraft and ships, a critical resource for sustaining a war effort. There are also accounts of them providing financial assistance and possibly other military supplies, though details remain less clear than Peru's involvement. The support was a clear signal of solidarity within the Organization of American States, or OAS. Brazil, Argentina's neighbor and regional rival, played a more complex role. Officially, Brazil was neutral and called for a peaceful resolution. However, their neutrality tilted in Argentina's favor. Brazil allowed Argentine military aircraft, damaged in combat, to make emergency landings on its territory. More importantly, Brazil acted as a conduit. It's widely reported that Libya, under Muammar Gaddafi, sent military supplies to Argentina, and these shipments were routed through Brazil. Brazilian airports were used to transfer weapons, including air-to-air missiles and other equipment, from Libyan cargo planes to Argentine ones. This covert assistance allowed Argentina to bypass the international arms embargo that was beginning to take hold. Speaking of Libya, Muammar Gaddafi was one of Argentina's most surprising and controversial supporters. Far from the Americas, Gaddafi's Libya saw the conflict as another front against Western imperialism. Motivated by this shared anti-Western ideology, Libya became a key arms supplier. They provided a significant number of Soviet-made Strela 2-man portable air defense systems, as well as air-to-air missiles and other munitions. These weapons were flown across the Atlantic, often in a race against time as the British blockade tightened. The Libyan connection highlights the strange bedfellows that geopolitics can create. Within the Organization of American States, the debate was heated. The Rio Treaty, a mutual defense pact for the Americas, was invoked by Argentina. The treaty states that an attack on one member is an attack on all. Argentina argued that Britain's military action constituted an external aggression, while the United States, a signatory, sided with its NATO ally Britain. Most Latin American nations voted in favor of a resolution supporting Argentina's sovereignty claim and condemning Britain's military action. Countries like Panama and Cuba were particularly outspoken. Fidel Castro's Cuba, a longtime ideological opponent of the Argentine military junta, surprisingly offered its support, framing it as a fight against colonialism. What about Europe? Support there was virtually non-existent. The European Economic Community, the precursor to the EU, unanimously imposed economic sanctions on Argentina in solidarity with Britain. However, one country broke ranks: Ireland. While officially neutral, Ireland refused to continue the sanctions after the sinking of the Argentine cruiser, the Aire General Belgrano, which resulted in a heavy loss of life. The Irish government argued that Britain's military actions had escalated beyond a proportionate response. This was a diplomatic and moral stand rather than material support, but it was a notable crack in the European consensus. Spain, with its deep cultural and historical ties to Argentina, also found itself in a delicate position. The Spanish government officially called for a peaceful settlement, but public opinion and many politicians were sympathetic to Argentina. Spain did not join the European sanctions, maintaining a position of careful neutrality that implicitly favored its Latin American counterpart. So, to recap, Argentina's support network was a mosaic of different motivations. In Latin America, led by Peru and Venezuela, support was driven by regional solidarity and a shared anti-colonial history. This translated into tangible military and logistical aid. Farther afield, nations like Libya provided weapons based on a shared anti-Western ideology. And then there were countries like Brazil, which offered covert assistance under a veil of neutrality, and Ireland, which provided moral and diplomatic support by breaking with the European consensus. While this aid was crucial for Argentina's morale and war effort, it ultimately wasn't enough to overcome the military, technological, and logistical superiority of the British task force, which was backed by the formidable intelligence and diplomatic weight of the United States. The Falklands War remains a fascinating case study in international relations, demonstrating how history, ideology, and geography can forge unlikely alliances in times of conflict. The network of support for Argentina, though often overlooked, was a critical chapter in the story of the war. Thank you so much for watching. It's a complex piece of history, and it's important to understand all sides. If you found this video interesting, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into historical events. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.